Have you ever felt that someone cares about you, but at the same time keeps a strange distance from you? Have you ever wondered why a person who clearly feels something for you suddenly becomes quiet, guarded, or hard to read? It can feel confusing. It can even feel painful. Because when someone matters to you, you expect closeness, you expect clarity. But with an avoidant person, something different happens. Something deeper is going on beneath the surface. And if you stay with me until the end of this video, you will understand one powerful psychological truth that most people never realize about avoidance when they secretly know you might be the one. Avoidant people are not heartless. They are not cold, and they are not incapable of love. In fact, many avoidants feel emotions more deeply than people realize. But somewhere in their past, their mind learned a dangerous lesson. It learned that closeness can lead to pain, that depending on someone can lead to disappointment, that opening your heart can sometimes mean losing control of your life. So their brain builds a protective system, a quiet wall, a survival strategy designed to keep their emotions safe. For most of their life, this strategy works. They keep relationships light, they maintain distance, they protect their independence, and because of this, they rarely allow anyone to get too close to their real emotions. It feels safer that way. Safer to stay in control. Safer to never depend too much on anyone. Safer to keep a part of themselves hidden. But then something unexpected happens. Sometimes they meet someone who slowly breaks through that invisible wall. Not with pressure, not with force, but with presence. Someone who feels different. Someone who doesn't try to trap them. Someone who doesn't demand their soul or rush their emotions. Instead, this person brings calm energy, understanding, patience, emotional safety. And something inside the avoidant begins to notice this difference. At first, they may not even realize what is happening, but their mind starts observing you in ways they cannot explain. They notice the way you handle conflict, the way you respond when they pull away, the way you respect their space instead of chasing them with pressure. And slowly, quietly, a realization begins forming deep inside their mind. This person feels different. This connection feels different. And that is the moment everything changes. Because when an avoidant begins to feel that someone might actually matter, their emotional system enters a state of conflict. A silent internal battle begins inside them. One part of their heart becomes curious. It begins to feel warmth. It begins to imagine the possibility of something real. But another part of their mind immediately becomes alert. It raises a warning signal: danger. Closeness means vulnerability. Vulnerability means risk. And the avoidant mind hates risk when it comes to emotions. So the moment they realize you are not like the others, the moment they feel that strange sense of emotional gravity pulling them closer, fear quietly appears beside it. Not loud fear, not dramatic fear, but a deep instinctive tension. Because now the connection matters. And when something matters, it has the power to hurt. This is the moment many people misunderstand avoidance completely. From the outside, it may look like they are losing interest. It may look like they are becoming distant. It may even look like they are unsure about you. But inside their psychology, something far more complicated is happening. Their brain is trying to protect them from a future pain that has not even happened yet. This is how human psychology works. The mind remembers emotional wounds more strongly than emotional comfort. If someone has experienced disappointment, abandonment, or emotional chaos in the past, their brain learns to associate closeness with danger. And once that pattern is learned, the mind begins scanning every new connection for possible threats, even when the connection is beautiful, even when the person is genuine. So when an avoidant starts to feel that you might actually be someone special, their brain does not immediately relax. Instead, it begins asking silent questions. Can I trust this feeling? What if I lose myself? What if this person eventually hurts me? What if I depend on them and they leave? These questions do not come from a place of manipulation. They come from a place of protection. The avoidant mind believes distance equals safety, independence equals survival, and emotional control equals peace. But love does something very strange to this system. It slowly challenges it, because when an avoidant meets someone who truly touches their heart, their usual escape patterns begin to feel different. Running away no longer feels easy. Ignoring their emotions becomes harder. And the connection begins living quietly inside their mind, even when they try to push it away. They may act normal on the outside, but internally something has shifted. You begin to occupy space in their thoughts, in their emotional world, in the quiet moments when they are alone with their mind. And that realization can be both beautiful and terrifying, because for the first time in a long time, they feel something that threatens the one thing they have always relied on: control. And when an avoidant starts realizing they might be losing control of their emotions, that is when their behavior can start becoming confusing to the people around them. But what happens next? What happens inside the avoidant mind after this realization is something most people completely misunderstand. And understanding this next stage could change the way you see avoidance forever. This is the moment that confuses many people. Everything seemed natural in the beginning. Conversations flowed. Energy felt comfortable. There was curiosity, warmth, even excitement. But once the emotional bond begins growing stronger, something unexpected appears. The avoidant person starts changing their rhythm. The text becomes slower. The emotional openness becomes smaller. The presence feels slightly less available, and to someone on the other side, it can feel like rejection. But inside the avoidant mind, something very different is happening. A powerful internal struggle begins to rise. It is not visible from the outside, yet it feels intense within them. Their heart begins leaning toward the connection, while their instincts pull them toward protection. Human psychology often creates this type of conflict when two strong needs collide. One need is the desire for connection. Every human being carries it. The need to be seen, the need to be understood, the need to share life with someone who feels safe. But the second need is equally powerful inside avoidant personalities: the need to remain emotionally independent. These two forces begin pushing against each other. Part of them wants to step closer to you. They notice how calm they feel around you. They notice the way conversations stay respectful instead of chaotic. They notice how your presence does not suffocate their identity. These details matter more than they will ever admit. Small things that others ignore become important signals in their mind, but another part of them becomes cautious. It starts analyzing every emotional movement. It reminds them of situations where closeness once led to disappointment. The mind tries to protect itself by slowing everything down. So the avoidant person begins doing something strange. They move closer, then step back. They open emotionally for a moment, then become quiet again. This pattern does not come from playing games. It comes from their nervous system adjusting to something unfamiliar. Their emotional world is not used to stable connection. When stability appears, their mind does not immediately trust it. It studies it. This is why their behavior can feel unpredictable. One day they seem warm, another day they seem distant. One moment they share something personal. Later, they return to silence. What is happening during these moments is an intense psychological evaluation. They begin watching how you react when things become uncomfortable. Do you panic? Do you pressure them? Do you become angry? Or do you remain steady? Your reactions become information to their mind. Avoidant individuals are extremely sensitive to emotional pressure. If they feel pushed, their defense system activates instantly. Distance becomes their escape route. But if they sense patience and emotional stability, their mind starts relaxing slowly. This process does not happen overnight. The avoidant brain needs time to process emotional safety. Every small interaction becomes a piece of evidence. Each calm response becomes proof that the connection might not destroy their freedom. This is why the person who matters the most to them often experiences the most confusing behavior. If the connection felt ordinary, the avoidant mind would not care this much. They would simply keep things casual and distant. But when someone begins reaching deeper into their emotional space, their system becomes alert. The connection begins carrying weight. Weight creates fear. Not fear of the person, fear of the emotional impact. because deep inside they know something important. If they allow themselves to truly attach, walking away will not feel simple anymore. The independence they have protected for years may begin sharing space with someone else. That thought alone can feel overwhelming, yet at the same time, the connection keeps pulling them back. They remember conversations that felt genuine. They replay moments where they felt understood without explaining too much. They notice how rare that experience is in their life, and the more they reflect on these details, the more their mind becomes divided. This internal conflict is exhausting for them. They may not talk about it, they may not show it openly, but their mind keeps moving between two possibilities. One side suggests building something meaningful, the other side suggests protecting emotional distance before it becomes too late. Psychologists often describe this as an approach avoidance dynamic. The same person who attracts them also activates their fear. Attraction invites closeness. Fear demands space. Both feelings exist at the same time. That is why their behavior can feel like a push and pull. They are not fully moving away, but they are not fully stepping forward either. Their nervous system is trying to find balance between connection and protection. During this stage, the avoidant person begins paying close attention to emotional patterns. They observe whether the relationship feels peaceful or chaotic. Stability becomes the most powerful signal of safety. Calm energy slowly weakens their defensive habits. Your emotional consistency becomes something their mind cannot ignore. When someone remains grounded instead of reactive, the avoidant brain begins rewriting its expectations about relationships. It starts realizing that closeness does not always lead to loss of control. That realization does not arrive suddenly. It grows quietly through repeated experiences. And as this realization begins forming inside them, the emotional tension slowly transforms into something else: curiosity. Curiosity about what life might feel like if they allowed the connection to continue growing. Curiosity about whether vulnerability could actually bring comfort instead of danger. This is the stage where their heart begins whispering a new possibility. Maybe this connection is different. Maybe this person does not threaten their independence. Maybe opening the door slightly will not destroy the life they have built. Those thoughts begin appearing more often in their mind, and once these thoughts start repeating, the emotional wall that protected them for years begins developing small cracks. Once those small cracks begin forming in the emotional wall, another strange pattern often appears. Their actions may become even more confusing. The distance that once looked like protection can suddenly look stronger than before. It may seem as if they are moving further away just when things were starting to feel meaningful. This moment can feel frustrating for anyone trying to understand them, but something deeper is unfolding inside their mind. When the possibility of genuine attachment becomes real, the avoidant nervous system reacts with a powerful surge of caution. Their inner world starts scanning every detail of the connection. They notice tone, timing, emotional reactions, and subtle changes in behavior. Nothing escapes their attention. What looks like silence from the outside is often intense thinking on the inside. The avoidant mind becomes extremely analytical during this stage. It is almost like their brain turns into a quiet investigator. They replay conversations. They review emotional moments. They think about how interactions made them feel long after they have ended. Every experience becomes a piece of evidence. Why does this happen? Because the stakes feel higher. Now, when a relationship begins to touch deeper emotions, the avoidant brain wants certainty before allowing any real vulnerability. Their past experiences taught them that emotional exposure can lead to chaos. So, their mind tries to calculate whether this bond will create peace or pain. This is why their actions may not always match what they feel. Internally, they may be thinking about you more than ever before. Yet externally, they might appear calm, distant, or focused on other parts of life. Their strategy is not about ignoring the connection. It is about slowing everything down so they can regain a sense of control. Control feels safe to them. Without control, emotions can feel overwhelming. When emotions grow too strong, their instinctive reaction is to step back and create space. Space gives them time to breathe. Space gives their mind room to process feelings without pressure. During these periods, they often observe your behavior carefully. They watch how you respond when things become quiet. Do you react with panic? Do you demand reassurance? Do you become frustrated and create conflict? Or do you remain calm? This observation matters more than most people realize. Avoidant personalities are extremely sensitive to emotional storms. Intense reactions can make their defensive system stronger, but emotional steadiness sends a very different signal. It tells their brain that closeness might not equal danger. Gradually, your behavior becomes a mirror reflecting what kind of connection this could become. If your responses carry patience and self-respect, their mind begins recording these experiences. Each calm interaction becomes proof that the relationship environment feels different from what they once feared. Over time, these experiences begin reshaping their expectations. For years, they believed that emotional closeness would remove their independence. But when someone allows them room to breathe while still caring deeply, their mental model begins changing. The idea of love starts shifting from pressure to partnership. This transformation does not happen loudly, it happens quietly. Their perspective slowly evolves as they watch how you handle moments of tension. They start realizing something unusual about the connection. Instead of feeling trapped, they begin feeling understood. And that realization creates a new emotional sensation they are not used to: relief. Relief that someone is not trying to control them. Relief that they can exist as themselves without constant pressure to perform emotionally. Relief that the relationship does not demand instant vulnerability. This relief opens a door inside them. Behind that door lives something they rarely allow themselves to feel fully: the possibility of trust. Trust for avoidant personalities is not built through words alone. It is built through repeated experiences that show emotional safety. Consistency becomes the language their heart understands best. When someone remains stable through time, their nervous system slowly relaxes. Little by little, the protective shield loses some of its strength. At this stage, they may begin sharing slightly more about themselves: small personal details, thoughts about their past, opinions about life that they normally keep private. These moments may seem ordinary to others, but for them, they represent meaningful progress. Opening up in even small ways requires courage. Yet, the conflict inside them does not disappear immediately. Part of their mind still carries old fears. Memories of previous disappointment may return suddenly. When those memories appear, hesitation can return as well. So they continue moving carefully. A step forward, a pause, another small step. This rhythm may feel slow to someone waiting for emotional certainty, but for an avoidant person, it represents a major internal shift. They are slowly allowing their guarded heart to explore something new. The connection begins occupying more of their attention. Thoughts about the future might start appearing quietly in their mind. They may wonder what life would feel like if they allowed themselves to fully trust the bond growing between you. This thought can feel both exciting and intimidating. Exciting because the connection feels rare. Intimidating because opening the heart means accepting vulnerability. Yet something important begins changing within them. The fear that once dominated their emotional decisions slowly begins sharing space with another feeling: hope. Hope that love might not destroy their independence. Hope that closeness might actually bring calm instead of chaos. Hope that someone finally understands the quiet world they have protected for so long. Hope begins as a quiet feeling. It does not arrive with noise or dramatic change. It grows slowly, almost unnoticed, inside the mind of someone who spent years protecting their emotional world. For a long time, their focus was simple: stay independent, stay guarded, never allow another person to reach the deepest parts of their heart. That rule once felt necessary for survival. But when hope appears, the mind begins asking a new question: what if closeness does not have to mean losing yourself? This thought alone can reshape the entire emotional landscape of an avoidant person. It challenges the belief that connection automatically leads to pressure or control. It introduces the idea that another human being might exist who respects space while still offering genuine care. At first, this idea feels unfamiliar. The avoidant mind has spent years building habits around self-reliance. They learn to solve problems alone. They train themselves to regulate emotions without depending on anyone. Their independence became a form of identity. Letting another person into that identity can feel like stepping into unknown territory. Yet the connection continues influencing them. They begin noticing how their mood shifts when they interact with you. Conversations leave a sense of calm instead of exhaustion. Silence between messages no longer feels threatening. Even quiet moments carry a feeling of comfort rather than tension. These subtle experiences start creating a new emotional pattern in their mind. Gradually, they realize something important. Being close to you does not weaken them, it strengthens their sense of stability. This discovery can be powerful for someone who once believed relationships meant emotional chaos. Finding peace and connection feels almost surprising. Their nervous system begins learning a different lesson about intimacy. Instead of preparing for conflict, it starts recognizing safety. With time, the protective barriers inside them begin lowering further. Not all at once, not dramatically, but enough for them to experience vulnerability in small portions. They may begin sharing memories they usually keep private. They may reveal personal thoughts about their dreams, fears, or past experiences. Each moment of honesty represents trust slowly taking root. Trust changes everything. When trust grows, the mind no longer sees closeness as a threat. Instead, it begins viewing the connection as something valuable worth protecting. This shift creates a new motivation inside them. Rather than escaping emotional depth, they start wanting to nurture it carefully. But this transformation still requires courage. Allowing someone into your emotional world means accepting uncertainty. No matter how safe the connection feels, vulnerability always carries risk. An avoidant person understands this deeply. Their past experiences taught them that nothing in life is guaranteed. Opening their heart means accepting that possibility again. Yet by this stage, something stronger has already begun developing. Respect. They begin respecting the way you handle difficult moments without creating pressure. They admire your patience during times when their behavior felt confusing. They recognize the emotional strength it takes to remain calm when others might react with frustration. This respect gradually evolves into appreciation. They start realizing that you offered something rare. Instead of forcing closeness, you allowed the connection to grow naturally. Instead of demanding answers, you gave them time to understand their own emotions. This approach creates a sense of gratitude inside them, and gratitude often leads to commitment. Commitment does not appear suddenly. It forms through repeated experiences that prove the relationship adds value to their life. Each positive interaction becomes a building block, strengthening the emotional foundation between you. During this stage, their actions begin aligning more closely with their feelings. Communication becomes more open. Presence becomes more consistent. The uncertainty that once defined their behavior starts fading. They no longer feel the same need to protect themselves from the connection, because the connection now feels like home. Home is not about losing independence. It is about finding a place where the mind can relax without fear. For an avoidant person, discovering that feeling with someone else can be life-changing. It means they no longer have to face everything alone. It means emotional closeness can exist alongside personal freedom. This realization creates a new type of loyalty. Avoidant individuals may take longer to trust, but once trust becomes real, their dedication can become incredibly strong. They do not attach easily, so when they finally allow someone into their inner world, that bond carries deep meaning. The person who once feared vulnerability now begins protecting the relationship itself. They become more attentive to emotional balance. They want the connection to remain peaceful and stable. The same caution that once created distance now helps them care for what they value. And this is where the deepest transformation occurs. The avoidant heart, once guarded by layers of protection, learns that love does not have to feel like danger. It can feel like partnership. It can feel like quiet strength shared between two people who respect each other's space while still walking side by side. When that understanding becomes clear, the internal struggle that wants to find them finally begins settling,